Hey everybody, welcome to the Hot Corner and welcome back to the Hot Corner. If you've been here before, I appreciate you tuning in to this video. If I could get you to hit the subscribe button down there, that'd be great. Hit the notification bell. Also give me a thumbs up on the video, and that'll help other people, other YouTubers see the video. It'll be recommended for them if you do that. It'll be helpful. So today I am super excited. Man, I have to tell you that I've been struggling with something lately. I've been struggling because of our current situation. You know, been a lot of challenges lately, a lot of things happening, a lot of protests, a lot of riots, a lot of things happening that really made me question a lot of things. One being, what color am I? You know? And lo and behold, as I'm dwelling on this thing, trying to figure it out, guess what? This pops up today. What? Yeah. Have you seen this thing? Let me just tell you. Here's the title of this thing. It's Aspects and Assumptions of White Culture in the United States. Wow. What? Woo! Woo! I'm just like, that is awesome. And I read through this. And you know what? It reaffirmed that I'm white. I've had my whiteness reaffirmed. Oh my gosh, this is great. So let me tell you a little bit about this document right here. Yeah, it's really interesting, you know? So this is a document that was published. I'm going to look at some notes here so I don't mess it up here. It's published by the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which is funded by the Smithsonian, by the way, using our tax dollars. Yeah, go Smithsonian, right? Yes. So I read this. I'm reading this. I'm thinking, I'm doing a real quick scan. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. That's really good too. You know, some really cool things in here. You know, objective, rational, linear thinking. Yeah, okay. Cause and effect relationships, quantitative emphasis. I love science. Science is great, man. Science is great. Self-reliance, you know, individuals assume to be in control of their environment, you know. It's like, yes. Hard work's the key to success. I've been taught that. I love it. Work before you play. Not always fun, but we have to do it, right? Man, all kinds of neat stuff in here. We plan for the future. Sometimes we have delayed gratification because, you know, we can't always just go out and just do impulse things, impulse buys, and get ourselves in all kinds of debt. So we have to plan for things, right? Progress is always best. Always good to make progress, right? Change is good. Progress is good. It's fantastic. We love schedules. We do view time as a commodity. I think that's great, you know? And then I thought, wow, this is really cool. I am white. And I thought, wow, not only am I white, but most of the world must be white too, because these are awesome attributes. These are universally applied attributes and accepted attributes. Like, who knew there were so many white people in the world? This is great. And then I started looking at this document a little closer, do a little bit deeper dive, a little inspection. And I started to see some things that, you know, weren't very complimentary about white people, about white culture. So I saw, you know, if you didn't meet your goals, you didn't work hard enough. Christianity's a norm, no tolerance for other religions. And then I saw some really interesting things in here. And our holidays, you know, based on Christian religions, which is fine. The justice system, competition, be number one, win at all costs. We're action orientation, master and control nature. Must always do something about a situation. Aggressiveness and extroversion. Decision making. Here's the kicker one. Majority rules, in parentheses, when whites have power. And I thought, oh boy, oh, what is happening here? What has this museum done? What has the Smithsonian funded? Oh my gosh. And as a believer, I especially looked at things from a different lens. You know, I saw, you know, if you didn't meet your goals, you didn't work hard enough. Christianity's a norm, no tolerance for other religions. that there was some things in here. Here's one. Husband's the breadwinner and head of the household. Wife's a homemaker and subordinate to the husband. You know, this really looks like a mid-century view of life in America. Some of these things haven't been this way for decades. I think half the people in the workforce are women nowadays. Is that right? And wife being a homemaker is kind of an old notion, isn't it? Subordinate to the husband? Well, scripturally and biblically, that's the order of things if the husband is the spiritual head of the household. But it hasn't been like this in a long time in general America. So I thought, man, what's the purpose of this thing? I thought, wow, man, maybe white's not a good thing. How can that be? So I thought, what's the intent? So here's the real intent. If you're wondering what this document's about, here's my take on it. And you might have a different take, and I want you to share that down below. It really is an attack against white culture. And it's a way to indoctrinate people of color and whites against other whites. Make no mistake here, this is all part of the Marxist effort here. This is a straight up attack on American culture, because quite honestly, some of those values are not just white values. Quite a few of those values are American values. Quite a few of those values are universally seen as beneficial, and by demonstrating these values, sets people up for a good chance of success in life. That's just the way it is. You have to be organized. You have to value things. You have to be disciplined. You have to respect authority. So this is a dangerous, dangerous document. And I'll tell you why. This document's coming from an organization that has major credibility, right? The Smithsonian National African American History and Culture Museum. These are not fly-by-night organizations. These organizations carry a lot of clout. These organizations influence a lot of people. Smithsonian is excellent. I mean, it really is an excellent organization, and it's funded by taxpayer dollars. That's what's troubling about this whole thing. This is coming from we paid for this study. Basically, we paid for this document. We paid for those museums. We paid for this line of thinking that developed this document and this culture. We paid for it. In fact, there's probably some level of truth in this document. I'm not going to say this document is wrong. Not at all. There always is some level of truth, even in stereotypes. We don't stereotype people for no reason, but we all easily get offended by stereotypes. So we have to work on that. But some of these just aren't fair. Some of these attributes and assumptions, it says assumptions, just aren't fair. And they're damaging. They're meant to divide. They're meant to attack. This really becomes a playbook for people that want to attack white culture. This becomes a playbook. Everything on this list is everything that's going to be attacked. Everything they're going to try to tear down. Everything they're going to try to make new. But I don't really understand what the future state, what they expect the future state to look like. You can attack all these things, and there will be a fight, there'll be a struggle. But what really is your intended future state? What's it going to look like? So I feel like we're doing a lot of protesting, a lot of attacking, a lot of indoctrination here, but there's no conversation going on. You know, there's no, people say, you know, we just want to have the conversation, but, you know, you have to stop doing what you're doing in order to have the conversation. And so this is troubling. And really, the biggest impact from a document like this is going to be on our children. Just minds that are moldable and shapeable. You know, if we use documents like this to mold our children, what are we going to do? how are they going to turn out? They're going to look just like mini me's, right? They're going to look like us, and they're going to continue to deal with these same issues, just like we're dealing with right now. Case in point, or an example here. In the town where I live, there's a unique educational facility. Excuse me. I was intrigued by the name. I drive by it every day, so I looked it up. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I looked it up, and I said, this is really cool. And they said, we want to provide a unique learning experience for children, like kindergarten through, I don't know, maybe even be high school. I'm not sure. Small place, so not a lot of folks, not a lot of students in there, but they're building. And so I said, okay, what does that mean, And so I looked at the curriculum, and basically they stated that they allow the students to develop their own learning path and own curriculum. And I thought, that's pretty progressive. And it was a little out of the norm for me, right? So I'm used to really a more structured environment, but I thought, okay, all right, I can kind of handle that. I can deal with that. I mean, it's different, but it's at least kids are finding stuff that motivates them and allows them to control their own educational environment. I thought that's pretty good, I guess. Maybe not in every case, but if you get the right students with the right intent, then you can do a good job with it. It's all good. Probably not for every student, though, for sure. So then I was further on their website and looked at, so what are parents? How are parents prepared to support this? So I looked in the parents section, I looked at this, and I thought, oh, okay, well, parents are meant to be encouraging and all that stuff, and, that they want their kids to have a more progressive type of learning environment. But then I saw the reading list, recommended reading list, and it's fairly extensive, but there's a big section on stuff with the title like systemic racism, white privilege, white supremacy, just basically probably a good half a dozen books speaking negatively of the white race and white culture. And I thought, I can even deal with that if there's not a huge emphasis on it. I mean, I don't agree with all of the stuff that's written, but if you're going to provide an atmosphere, educational atmosphere, that is nurturing and something that you can prepare children to function well in the world when they graduate, okay. But I really started to see this theme run through their whole website, and it was troubling, because what I'm seeing there is an indoctrination of young children. These are moldable, shapeable hearts and minds, and what's really being done is an indoctrination process. And so my thought is, if you emphasize this as much as they seem to emphasize it, this is what the kids are going to be programmed to believe and live out. So if you promote certain stereotypes of white people, you promote certain stereotypes of white culture, you promote certain stereotypes of racism, it can be very one-sided in their approach. And really what that does is it sets them up for these, for a lot of animosity in their relationships with people of different colors, And so if they're meant to see the white person as a bad person, then it's going to be a problem. It is going to be a problem. And so you're not treating these children with dignity and respect, although you think you are, and you're expanding their thoughts and their learning experience. You have to be very, very careful that we don't overdo it in one area or another. Otherwise, like I said before, we will continue to perpetuate these stereotypes and beliefs, and it will affect our relationships and interactions with people of different colors. So I found that I'm probably white. I can't say I agree with all of this at all. There's some of it that's valuable. Some of it is applicable. Some of it's universally accepted. But some of it really comes across as a victim, with a victim mindset. And it's going to be a real problem if this type of stuff continues to be perpetrated. I'm not saying there's not problems. There are issues. But unless we start the conversations, start working on things, there will continue to be issues. There will continue to be problems. So that's all I have for tonight. You know, being a believer and part of the kingdom. You know, one of the things in here that they said was wealth. Where is it here? Wealth equals worth. I don't believe that. Most believers don't believe that. In fact, all believers probably shouldn't believe that. But your job is who you are. Also, don't believe that. Job is what I do. It's not who I am. Christianity is the norm. Well, if anybody has seen the numbers on the survey numbers on believers in the United States, they know that it's been in a decline for a while and just recently has started to increase again with the younger generation coming back to the church, which is very encouraging. So like I said, some of this really is sort of a mid-century, viewing things through a mid-century lens, and kind of holds us in a mid-century snapshot there of our culture. But a lot of this is American culture, not just white culture. And so really that's the message tonight. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. This one was a little tough. Tried to have fun with it. But like I said, even when you're joking, even a joke contains a thread of truth. And so my whole intent with this was to discuss how problematic it is, but not worry too much about it. Not really give it any more weight than it already has. But my concern is that it will have some weight coming from the Smithsonian, and that could be a problem. You know, you could see some backlash here, I'm sure. So it should be interesting to see the response that comes out of this, and if there is also a version that's done for people of color. I kind of doubt that'll happen, but you never know. All right, take care. I love you all. Appreciate you for subscribing and sticking around. All right, have a good night. Bye.